So the right pronunciation is Kortmeyer
15
or
seconds.
Kortmeyer.
You can say it either way. Most people say Kortmeyer.
Kortmeyer. I hope this sounds okay. Stop. After 27 years on the air, I would like to thank Mr. John Kerhoff when he came up with this idea of education exchange in Iowa City Public Library. They gave him a little room where he built a studio there and started there. And he continued for 27 years. So I'm so proud that I joined him as a producer and co-host. As you see, John Kerhoff is behind the glass door there in the control room. He's a camera shy man. But he has been doing this as an unknown soldier for many years. A very dedicated, devoted, sincere teacher in Iowa City Community School District. He worked as math guru at City High for many years. And before that, he was in the Middle East and he traveled all over. He has a great story to tell. It's my pleasure this year to, and this episode, to welcome Amy Kortmeyer. Amy Kortmeyer is an exceptional assistant superintendent in our district, and she is doing a lot of work, and we are lucky to have you, Amy, tonight with us. And sharing this episode with me is my co-host, Dr. Thacker, Viraj Thacker. So we are going to cover a very important topic tonight. Everybody is waiting for February 28th or 29th?
28th.
28th to register for kindergarten. And we want to know what can we do and what are the rules. What do you need as a district in order to enroll our kids? So before we do that, Amy, I would like you to give a brief idea to our viewers here, who you are and why did you end up in Iowa City?
Well, I'm a very fortunate person, but Amy Kortmeyer, Assistant Superintendent for Iowa City Schools. My journey started with my bachelor's degree at the University of Iowa, so proud graduate here. And my travels have taken me to different parts. My first teaching job was in Houston, Texas, where I taught 4th grade. Then I was lucky enough to come back and start serving students at Benton Community, where I taught 6th grade. Then I spent 11 years with the Cedar Rapids School District, both as an elementary teacher and an elementary principal. Then I spent some time at the Linn-Mar School District as their elementary director of teaching and learning. And then my last year at Linn-Mar, I actually wore 2 different hats. I remained in that role, but only part-time, and then took a superintendent's job in Springville, Iowa, as part of the Springville Community School District. And then I was lucky enough to apply for the Director of Schools position that Iowa City Schools had open at that time, and was lucky enough to have it. And then at that point I started working with our elementary principals and our instructional coaches in all of our elementary buildings. And then a few months later, Assistant Superintendent position opened up, and I applied and was lucky enough to get it. So I often tell people Iowa City is my favorite town in the entire state, and I feel super fortunate to be part of this district, the rich history, the excellent education that happens here. So glad to be here.
Before you start your presentation, I would like to give credit to the Public Access TV staff who are ready to jump at any time to help us. Okay. And they are not expecting any reward. It's unconditional help. And that's why I would like to thank all the staff here, including Dr. Gerardo Sandoval, the director, Alex, who is our director, on the floor today, and on the cameras, on 2 cameras in the meantime, as well as Mr. Singh and Aaron and Julieta. These are a very good team of people that they love our district and they love this program and they support us. So thanks to them too.
Absolutely.
Amy, your floor is yours now.
All right.
And the viewers are listening to you.
Okay. If you can believe it, we are already planning for the 2018-2019 school year and thinking about kindergarten registration. So, when and where do we hold kindergarten registration? It will be coming up on February 28th, and we will have our buildings open the entire day. So, from 7:40 in the morning when our staff arrives until 7:10 at night. And this coincides with our parent-teacher conference day and evening conferences. If you're curious as to where you should go for kindergarten registration, you would go to the home school that's closest to your neighborhood. And if you have questions about where your home building is, you can certainly call our offices at 319-688-1000 or go to our district website. And when you go to the parent section on our website, you can find a page there that's called Homeschool Lookup. And you can simply just enter your home address, your street, and it will bring up your building location. So you're welcome to do it either way. Certainly you can call any of our buildings and they can help you get the information as well. So that's where we're going to start. And we want to enroll as many kindergartners as we can on that day. We don't necessarily capture every single student. Our class sizes right now, we've been taking in about 1,100 students a year, so we're out looking and hoping for at least 1,100 kindergartners again next school year. So there's a variety of ways that we are trying to advertise this event to the public. Different parent notification processes that we use are flyers, and these flyers have been recently distributed to all of our building secretaries. In addition to that, not only do we hope that our flyers are up around our buildings, but also out in the community, whether that's at community daycares, preschools, and in community centers in our various municipalities. Also tonight, we're using the Education Exchange to help promote the event, so we're happy to be here and always excited to share information here as well. We also are fortunate enough to have our banks displaying information on their marquees each year, so we'll be looking at doing that again. In a few days, we'll be actually about a month out from the event, and so you'll start to see some of these other things unravel or start to be pushed out more. For your entertainment, we have put together a kindergarten registration video. This is where you'll see all 20 of our elementary building principals, and it's a way that we promote kindergarten registration. But it's fun because we get them all in the game. They do a little skit around preparing a kindergarten classroom as the year starts, so you get to see all 20 of them. I love it. They're all wearing their elementary t-shirts for their buildings, and it's just a fun way to give them some exposure, hopefully for the community members to see, what each of them looks like and put a name with a face. We'll take that same video then, post it on the district website, building websites, and additionally ask Iowa City Channel 4, our Channel 21, and the North Liberty Channel 2 to promote it as well. So what can you, how much time can you plan to spend at kindergarten registration? Do you need to bring anything with you? What do parents actually do during this time? We try to promote and tell our parents that they're going to spend roughly 30 to 45 minutes in each of our attendance centers. And a large piece of that is actually getting onto the computer. We've got stations where we've got lots of computers out where we're establishing the parents' and students' Power School account. But it's important that day that you'll also bring some key pieces along. Verification of birth, so birth certificate, immunization records, proof of residency, all those help this process get started. And it's a pretty involved process when I think about all the forms and different things we're going to ask parents to do. So I foreshadowed this a little bit already. What will registration entail? And a large piece of that 30 to 45 minutes will actually be going in to set up these Power School accounts. And this Power School account will travel with your child then the entire time they're in our school district. In our state, there are only 3 different student information systems that are used. Power School happens to be used in a large amount of school districts across the state, and that's one that our district has chosen to use. But we collect emergency information on each child, all the siblings. It's important for us to have this information, of course, in the event that we need to contact parents, and it will hold a bunch of records as your child stays in school over time. Again, we ask then for general information, and you can see that some of the forms are starting to be listed here. I think I'll move on to the next slide and try to talk about all of them at one time. So, well, here, I'm going to move back a little bit. So general information is collected on the kindergarten enrollment form. There's a getting ready for school guide, and then of course we detail more of the immunization requirements. As I think about the following pieces, these are all pieces of paperwork, obviously, that need to be filled in, considered. As much as possible, it's great that if they can be left at that time we're doing registration, but there is a lot to kind of work through. So a lot of our families will take pieces of it home, leave some of them there. Ideally, we need every single thing turned in prior to the school year starting, but it's a little bit easier on our secretarial staff and building staff if we can get all of these as we're collecting these on each individual child. The kindergarten questionnaire is helpful. That is actually a piece that can be turned in at the beginning of the year. It just gives your kindergarten teacher a little bit of background about your student, so what they can anticipate, and it's just nice to have a little bit of background that way. There's an optional half-day enrollment piece of paperwork. We don't have very many families exercising this option at all. As we've moved years ago in the state from providing half-day kindergarten opportunities to full day, we really have relatively few families trying to exercise this option, although we still do allow it as an option. The Iowa Department of Public Health and Certificate of...
Well, let us stop here for 1 second, because I think I got a couple of questions from my readers who are, as a matter of fact, know that you are going to be on the show.
Okay.
And one of them was about this half day, because some of the families need to have half day. But they don't know if they can change the mind throughout the year, and how many times they can do that.
Sure.
This is one thing. The other thing is it possible for the kid who is taking half-day kindergarten to still participate somehow indirectly with some of the materials or the activities that are done after they leave?
Sure.
Because they leave when the kids go to lunch, right?
Yeah, or maybe are coming at
right.
lunchtime. Yeah.
But I mean, the parents should pick them up, right?
Yes.
From school.
Yeah.
Is it possible for the teacher to say, okay, here is the material, you can do this at home?
So those are all good questions, and we do outline a lot of those answers on this form. So the half-day option is available, and we only allow you to change your mind one time during the year. So let's say we start, and by September, October, child is acclimated, parents want to change their mind and go full day. It's absolutely fine, we'll do that, but we don't only ask or allow for that change to happen once during the school year. You mentioned transportation. Transportation
Yes.
is the responsibility of the parent. So if parents choosing half-day kindergarten, the PM would be required to drop their students off when the all-day students return from lunch recess. Parents choosing half-day kindergarten in the morning would be required to pick their students up in the morning when the all-day students go to lunch. Transportation may be provided per district guidelines either at the start or end of the day, but not in that middle portion of the day. Did I answer all your questions? Oh, the question around curriculum then. Do our teachers then supply the material for the other half of the day that the child wouldn't be attending? And we do not do that and ask for the teachers to prep that way. So if you're going to exercise the half-day option, you're truly exercising that curriculum for that period of the day, and you would be responsible for then the other portion of the day. Good questions.
Can I back up a little bit and ask you if a child, let us say, came from another state or from another district or from private school that's accredited and you accept it, and they were enrolled before the cutoff age, that's 5 years old, would you accept them or not?
Well, we have to go by what Iowa code says, and currently the code says September 15th is our deadline. So we do from time to time have families that are coming from out of state where maybe their deadlines are later, October or November, and they seek to want to enroll their student because they've already started kindergarten in a different state. But per Iowa code, we cannot allow that. So they're going to have to stay out until they officially turn 5 by September 15th.
I think I'm not sure that the information is correct, but if they are a military family kid, they can enroll at any age?
If they're what?
Military family.
Military family. I'd have to double check on that for sure, so I'm not giving you some inaccurate information. Okay.
Well, I have heard that if they are from a military family, they are exempted from this, but I'm not sure.
That may be true. Yeah, I'd have to look into that.
Okay.
I might jump in here with
yes.
We were discussing earlier, you and I, Hani, about kids that come in and have a language handicap, in terms of English, and how important it is for them to develop that for their future, performance. So, what steps do they take to, kind of ensure that happens?
Absolutely, I can speak to that. So towards the bottom of this list that we have here, we've got something called the Home Language Survey. Everybody that's a new student to the district would fill out the Home Language Survey, and that would give us an indication of whether English is the first language spoken in the home. And if not, that automatically triggers then for us to set up a time with the family to then further survey the student with their English capability. And depending on where they fall out on that assessment, we would be able to offer them an English language learner program. And next year, we've been working towards this for a while to try to offer an English language learner program in every one of our attendance centers. Currently, we have 16 of our 20 elementary buildings have an English language learner program, and all of our secondary buildings do. We're working right now, actually we're in the middle of it, to look really hard at whether we can bring it to the remaining 4 for next year, and we're hopeful that we can make that happen. So we're excited. We've seen certainly our population grow, our English language learner population. We're up over almost 1,600 students that we're serving with as English language learners. When I think about that, our student population now is around 14,000 students, and so we're more than 10% of our students need that additional service. And we absolutely want to celebrate when our students come in speaking and knowing another language. We want to always hold, making sure that they're still holding that in high esteem as well, and all the while start to bring them along with their English skills. So thank you for asking.
It's wonderful to know. Because there is a reverse to this where, my wife and I, we spent some years overseas, and in those settings you have people that spend a lot of money sending their kids to private schools to learn English well, so that they have, their chances in life. So this would make a lot of sense where you have kids living in the U.S. that, have this handicap and need to be, brought up to par. So I think it's a wonderful initiative.
I do too.
It's excellent.
Thank you. So you can see the different forms that we're going to ask families to fill out. Some we need them to go to their doctor or their health provider, whether it's the dental screening or the vision screening, your certificate of certificate of immunization. I think I've covered most of those things. If you feel like your family is living farther than 2 miles from your attendance center, you can fill out an application for transportation. 2 miles and over puts you in the mandatory busing situation where the district would be providing busing for you. We also have a pay-to-ride system that's typically open from April through the beginning of June for families that might be living within the 2 mile distance from their school, but would like to pay for transportation as well. Those decisions are based on whether there's routes going by the home or near the home and whether there's seats available. So pay to ride isn't an automatic necessarily, but it is available to try to exercise anyway.
I want to ask a question here that just jumped into my mind because I know a lot of foreigners and people who just new immigrants that came, especially during the last couple of years when the wave of immigrants from the Middle East came to America. And some of them don't have birth certificates, identity, and things like that. How do you deal with that in the district?
That's a good question. So we are asked to try to use about anything that could show proof of a birth date. Examples even to the extent of the birth date's been written down within a Bible. I mean, we're to take things that we're just to kind of look across, you know, the circumstance, what situation they may have been in, what is a possible proof. Very good question.
Well, thank you. So there are, I mean, the district is more flexible with these cases. I mean, you can, and the parents should contact the education service.
Yes,
for that.
Absolutely. In fact, I just took a question from a building secretary about this same thing. You know, families aren't able to come up with a birth certificate.
Exactly.
What are those other avenues that we can accept, or what those other pieces of paperwork or proof that we could accept?
Especially if they are flooding. I mean, they are escaping from
and a lot of these
bombing
countries don't have the bureaucratic setups where they don't have birth certificates. So
absolutely.
So, but thank you for being flexible with those.
Well, the law's pretty clear, so we're doing our due diligence.
I know.
All right. So what happens after kindergarten registration? Well, we invite the families to come back in April. So a couple months later, we invite both the parents as well as the student to come in on April 19th, which is a Thursday, from 2:30 to 3:30, where we get to know the student a little bit better and then take parents through a presentation that's a lot more specific to what the kindergartner's day is going to look like. So as they're leaving mom and dad, what is a 7-hour day going to look like? So it's kind of a nice time too where the student gets to interact with other students, gets to meet the teachers because they're not necessarily kept together during this time.
So it's a kind of orientation?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And all the schools are going to do that?
All 20 buildings do this, we've been doing this for several years now. And then the big day is, of course, on August 23rd. Something nice that I didn't put on this slide right here is that we have an ice cream social for all of our families. It's typically the 2 days before.
That's a very important one.
Yeah.
Bring your backpacks, get to meet your teacher, walk through the building, have some ice cream or popsicles or whatever they're serving that night. So that's a nice kind of back to school event. And that typically is around August 21st. I believe that's going to happen this year as well.
Do you have other issues that...
I'm just impressed with the scope and range of
the activities. It takes a lot of effort,
stuff.
definitely, from your time and...
Well, we appreciate it, and we know the most important thing is to start establishing relationships with our families, and this is one way we can get them in, 2-3 times before school even starts. So.
One of the parents did ask, I think last year, there was a question on the forms about where are you going to go after you take the kid out of school, and how the kid is transported. They want to know the place and the means of transportation.
Sure.
Can you explain to our viewers why this is important?
Sure. So it's important for us, particularly at the elementary level, to know if our students are going to be riding the bus home, if they're typically picked up, or if they're typically walking. And so it's important for us as we, are releasing 225 to almost 700 students, depending on our building, that we know that everybody's going home, their safe route.
Safety.
Absolutely,
Safety,
it's based on safety. And if we've got a circumstance where a child typically rides a bus and all of a sudden they're not getting off the bus at the time that they typically do, immediately we've got systems in place to say this child is a bus rider, this is where they're expected. Did mom call in? Did dad call in? Did they get on the wrong bus? So we've got to start exercising and kind of working through our systems that way. But it's absolutely critical that we know not only who they're going home with, what's typical at night, but also it goes back to those power school accounts where we've got the family's emergency, or we've got the family's information in case there's emergency or we need to get a hold of people. But we also have something called these emergency contacts then as well. So if we can't get a hold of either parent, who's the next person that they'd like us to contact? So it's important that all that information is kept up to date, because of course from time to time we need to keep going down that list to get in touch with somebody that's...
Thank you, Amy, for mentioning this segment about Power School. Can you tell any parent who is new to the district what's a Power School?
Yeah.
What it is?
It's essentially a web-based program where we're keeping all the student information across the entire district. It's got their name, of course, siblings, the parent's name, their address, phone numbers, emergency contacts. It has information that's important to us. It flags some of the medical pieces in there. It also, there's a place in there that gives us permission for certain things. Can your child attend field trips off the campus? Can your student be photographed? Do you give us permission to use your child's photographs? Things like that. So we try to put as much information in one spot as possible, so that's kind of like a one-stop shop for us for our demographics and just collecting student information.
If one student doesn't have a doctor or a nurse or let us say medical care center they go to, what would you do? Would you give them a chance to join some medical facility and come back to you with the information, or you say, no, you don't have medical care and we cannot accept you?
Sure, no, we'd put you right in touch with our school nurses. So all of our buildings have access to a school nurse. They're not staffed there all day long, but they're shared between our buildings. Our secretaries in our offices are all able to dispense medication, and so we're set up well that way. But we've got our school family advocates or our school nurses that can certainly help our families connect with medical providers that they need, and got great people working on the behalf of our families.
Amy, it has been a delight having you tonight, and I know that we bombarded you with questions, but it's a very important day, definitely, and we are looking forward to it. And it's good that we are at the end of January, and it's on the 28th of February, so parents have enough time. And if they have more questions, they can contact your office.
Absolutely.
And at what number?
319-688-1000.
688-1000. And, well, thank you, Dr.
Thank you both.
Thacker.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Thank you very much, Amy. Always. And this show is going to be under the care of Public Access TV. And from here it will go to YouTube. Hopefully, Alex promised me it's tonight. So parents can see it on channel 18. That's Public Access channel, as well as Public Access website. If it's not on the Public Access TV yet, it would be on the website on computer, and it's PATV.tv. And as well as channel 21, that's your channel, the education channel, and other sources are available. So if this is impossible to follow, you will have this. You have other alternatives. Thank you, Amy, and thanks to Public Access TV and to everyone that helped us tonight. Thanks, Alex. Thank you, Mr. Jonker. Thacker, and again, Amy Kortmeyer.